Froyet, one of the most outstanding osteopaths of the early and mid-20th century, made two memorable statements to students regarding osteopathic technique. 1. It requires hours of study to perform a few minutes of effective technique. 2. The how of technique requires the deepest study of the why to be effective. A.T. Still, the founder of osteopathy, in fact refused to teach technique. He expected students to have immersed themselves so thoroughly in anatomy, pathology and physiology that they would be able to formulate the appropriate treatment and technique at the bedside based on fundamental principles. He all too often saw students copying, robot-like, his treatment methods without thought as to the individual needs of the patient. Nevertheless, it is with these dangers and concerns in mind that the Institute of Classical Osteopathy has embarked on this project. Its aim is to present to an increasingly interested and growing audience the fundamentals of classical osteopathy. The term classical is used because the techniques illustrated are those developed and practiced by the founders of osteopathy, including Still, Littlejohn and McConnell. Because of the danger that much could be lost to posterity of what constituted one of the most revolutionary and effective medical interventions to help the sick and injured, it has been thought necessary to put onto film, as a teaching aid, as many of these techniques as is feasible. However, it must be emphasized that these films are only an aid to the hours of study required to appreciate the range and depth of their clinical application. Any technique, whether playing a violin, practicing carpentry, or repairing the intricacies of a watch, requires artistry as well as science. However, let me add that classical treatment does not stop at the stage of palliation. The patient can be offered two further potential stages of treatment: that of stabilization of the gains made, and thirdly, rehabilitation and improvement, where possible, of general health and immunity. Determined by the seriousness of the disability, injury, or disease suffered, treatment may require months or even some years to slowly bring the patient back to health. To undertake such long-term work, beyond the palliative stage of acute injury or disease, it is considered essential that the operator has a thorough working knowledge of the laws of mechanics and gravitational forces that affect and traverse the upright human body. This is the least that would be expected of any engineer or architect called upon to repair faults that arise within structures and moving parts functioning under the forces of gravity. Similarly, this will require of the operator a clear blueprint in his mind of the natural strong and weak points of the human spine, its pivots and keystones, its arch-to-arch relationships, and the fundamental importance of the pelvic baseline as the foundation for the mechanics of the spine above and the limbs below. The unity of the body and its postural integrity were considered essential driving forces behind the formulation and development of the total body adjustment procedures, illustrated in these films and explained in depth in the accompanying texts.